All right, welcome. We're going to do a quick explainer today, and we're totally focused on one thing, getting you to master a core concept so you can walk into that AWS Cloud Practitioner exam feeling confident and, walk out with a pass. Okay, let's just dive right in. Look, if you're cramming and only have time to really lock down a few concepts for the test, this has to be one of them. I'm serious. Understanding the AWS global infrastructure, it's not just important, it's absolutely fundamental.
And I'm not exaggerating here. I can pretty much guarantee you're going to see questions about regions and availability zones on your exam. Getting this right, it could literally be the difference between passing and failing. So yeah, let's make sure you nail these points.
So, what are these things anyway? The easiest way to get it is to think about it from the ground up. We're going to start with the smallest piece, the most basic building block, and then kind of zoom out from there. Okay, first up, we've got the availability zone, or what you'll see called an AZ. Don't worry about all the official jargon. Just think of an AZ as a single, super reliable, totally isolated location. It's basically one, or maybe even a few, massive data centers, all built to handle failures. This is the bedrock, the foundation of everything. All right, now let's zoom out one step. A region, well, it's really just a physical area in the world, like North Virginia or Ireland or Tokyo. And it's made up of a bunch of those availability zones we just talked about. That's it. It's just a group of AZs all clustered together. And this is where it clicks into place. You can see the relationship right here. The region is kind of like the parent. For example, US East 1. That's the code for the North Virginia region. Then the availability zones are like the children living inside that region, and they get names like US East 1A, US East 1B, and so on. And here's a key fact. A region will always have at least two AZs. Always. I love this analogy because it just makes so much sense. Think about it. A region is like a whole city, and each AZ is a separate pizza kitchen in that city. Now, what happens if you only have one kitchen and its oven breaks? Well, nobody gets pizza, right? But if you have multiple kitchens spread all over town and one oven breaks, it's no big deal. The other kitchens just keep making and delivering pizzas. They just pick up the slack. And that pizza story, it leads us straight to probably the most important keyword for your exam on this topic, high availability. That's the whole reason AWS built their infrastructure this way. It's all about making sure things keep running no matter what happens. So this naturally leads to a big exam question, right? Why? Why did AWS go through all this trouble to build things this way? What's the benefit of having all these separate, isolated facilities inside of one single geographic area? Okay, this slide right here, this is pure gold for your exam. Seriously, screenshot this. These are the keywords you have to connect with the infrastructure. So when the exam mentions things like high availability or fault tolerance, your brain needs to immediately scream, use multiple AZs. That's how your app survives if one data center goes down. Simple. But what about bigger things, like disaster recovery? Think a whole city getting hit by a hurricane. For that, you need multiple regions. Same for data sovereignty, which is just a fancy way of saying you have to keep your data inside a specific country's borders. And latency? To make things fast for your users, you just pick a region that's physically close to them. So remember, small problem, multi-AZ. Big problem or location-specific stuff, multi-region. And if there is just one number you burn into your brain for this whole topic, it's this one, 2. The magic number is 2. The entire concept of high availability on AWS, it all starts with the number 2. It's the absolute minimum. All right, now let's talk about the common exam trap, because this is where so many people get tripped up. AWS loves, and I mean loves, to test if you actually get this, and they have a favorite little trick they like to pull. So you're going to want to pay really close attention to this next part. Knowing this little detail will absolutely save you from making a simple mistake and throwing away easy points. This is what separates the people who just memorized a few terms from the people who actually understand how it all works. Okay, here's the trap. They'll give you a scenario and ask about high availability. The mistake is thinking one AZ is enough. It's not. Running your application in a single availability zone is the very definition of a single point of failure. If that one AZ has a problem, boom, your application is down. To pass, you have to know, and I mean really know, that true high availability requires you to spread your application across at least 2 availability zones. One is never, ever enough. All right, let's do a super fast recap to lock all this in. If you've been taking notes, this is the part you want to star, highlight, whatever. Review this right before you walk into that exam. It really boils down to 3 simple things. Step 1, an AZ is just a data center. That's the basic building block. Step 2, a region is just a group of these AZs in one geographic area. And step 3, the golden rule, for high availability, you need at least, say it with me, 2 availability zones. That's it. And that leads us to a final thought to chew on. You now know exactly how to design something to survive a single data center failure. You just use multiple AZs. But what's the next level? How would you take that same logic and build an application that could survive an entire city going offline? Think about that. An entire region wiped off the map. That's the next step up. And it all builds on the foundation you just mastered today. Good luck on your exam. You're going to do great.